He was charming, adventurous, successful. Serena thought she married the man of her dreams.
Yeah, well, turns out she married a damn PowerPoint presentation with a body count.
Could you not ruin the tone in the first 5 seconds?
Sorry, my bad. Let me try again. Love is beautiful. Until your husband Googles, best place to push your wife off a cliff.
Better. Still disturbing, but better.
Dude forged her signature, faked her financials, and picked a scenic murder spot. That's not romance. That's a damn spreadsheet slasher film.
And you're still single. Can't imagine why.
I don't fake love, bro. I just ghost people, honestly.
Anyway, this isn't just about murder. It's about control, greed, and how trust got weaponized.
And how canyon selfies should come with a warning label.
This is the story of Serena Maxwell and the man who turned marriage into murder.
Welcome to the Why Not Files. Buckle up. It's a long fall.
I'm Daniel Maxwell, and this is the story of my sister, Serena. She was always the bright light in our family, a poised, elegant woman who owned an art gallery in Phoenix. She met Ethan Caldwell, a charismatic businessman with a taste for thrill-seeking adventures. Their wedding was a spectacle, a celebration of what seemed like a perfect union.
So she married a guy who base jumps for fun and files taxes like it's optional. Sounds stable.
He was charming, adventurous. Serena didn't see the red flags.
The man was a red flag. If he waved any harder, TSA would have flagged him.
Yeah, well, she was already in too deep. Like many couples, Serena and Ethan yearned for a child. When she finally got pregnant, they were overjoyed. But Ethan, consumed by his career and extreme sports, whitewater rafting, paragliding, rock climbing, left Serena to handle most of the pregnancy alone. Her texts to me grew sparse, her voice in our weekly calls thinning with fatigue.
So he's off paragliding while she's stuck Googling how to breathe with a baby crushing your lungs?
She was exhausted. He was busy. Convenient, huh?
Busy? He was more absent than my father.
Okay, ouch. But fair. Despite her exhaustion, Serena remained dedicated to her gallery. She found solace in her work, cherishing the quiet moments when she could feel her baby move. Serena had always been meticulous with money, a habit ingrained from childhood. She kept physical ledgers of every gallery sale, cross-referenced bank statements monthly, and refused joint accounts. A point of quiet tension with Ethan, who called it unnecessary distrust. Once she confided in me. He says I'm paranoid. In her 3rd trimester, exhaustion clouded her vigilance. When Ethan offered to handle their taxes and update their financial planning, she handed over passwords.
She gave him passwords? Pro? Even I don't share my Wi-Fi.
She trusted him, thought they were building a life together.
Yeah, he built it all right, like a Lego trap.
And she didn't see the pieces falling. As her pregnancy progressed, Ethan suggested a getaway to Sedona, Arizona. He raved about Echo Canyon's red cliffs and panoramic views. Serena hesitated, wary of the physical strain, but Ethan insisted. "It'll be our last trip as just us," he'd said, stroking her belly with a smile. He promised a relaxed trip, emphasizing Sedona's spiritual energy.
Let's go to Sedona, babe, for peace and possible cliff murder.
He pitched it like a baby moon. But Serena was already running on empty.
She needed bed rest, not red rock selfies.
But she went anyway. Because love makes you ignore logic. They started their trip with a couple of days of relaxation in Flagstaff before heading to Sedona. But then, Ethan changed their plans, insisting on visiting his sister's ranch outside of Sedona first. Serena was surprised. At the ranch, Ethan's sister, Emily, seemed concerned about Serena's strenuous travel. One night over whiskey, Emily would later confess to me that Ethan had asked her to lie. He said Serena wanted a surprise, some maternity photos at the canyon. But when I saw her wincing on the porch, I begged him to cancel. He just smiled and said, "She'll thank me later." Her voice broke. He kept checking his phone that whole weekend, like he was waiting for something. I thought it was work. After a short stay, they finally made it to Sedona and Echo Canyon. The canyon's beauty captivated Serena. Ethan, always the adventurer, suggested they hike to the rim for a better view. Serena later told him that she'd hesitated, her ankles swollen and back aching, but Ethan had already packed their gear. Despite her apprehension, Serena agreed, encouraged by Ethan's reassurances. The climb was tough. Serena's pregnancy made it even harder, and the rocky terrain was treacherous. Ethan offered his hand, but his presence felt more impatient than supportive. He kept walking ahead, a hiker later told investigators, like he wanted her to hurry. When they finally reached the top, the view was breathtaking. Serena, though winded, was exhilarated. They rested, taking in the vastness of the Arizona desert. Ethan seemed preoccupied, constantly looking around as if making sure they were alone. They lingered near the canyon's edge, Ethan insisting on taking numerous photos. He kept asking her to step back for the perfect shot, the witness recalled.
He kept saying, "Step back for the perfect shot." What was the perfect part? Her falling.
The man was directing her like a horror movie.
Except the monster was holding the camera.
And she didn't know she was in the final scene. But the way he positioned her, it felt deliberate. Then the unthinkable happened. Serena, posing for a photo near the edge, lost her footing and fell. Her scream echoed through the canyon, followed by a sickening thud. Ethan stood frozen for a moment, a strange detachment in his eyes. Then he rushed down the trail, flagged down a hiker, and breathlessly explained that his pregnant wife had fallen.
He just stood there. That man's got the emotional range of drywall.
His face didn't even break, just blank.
That's not shock. That's satisfaction on mute.
And the show wasn't over yet. The hiker and others looked into the canyon, but Serena was nowhere to be seen. The authorities were called and a rescue team descended. They found Serena's lifeless body at the bottom, her unborn child lost as well. The initial investigation ruled it an accident. The autopsy showed Serena had suffered multiple traumatic injuries. The coroner noted the angle of her fall. Not a slip, more like a forceful push. But without witnesses, it stayed buried in the report. I was devastated, but Ethan's behavior was unsettling. While my family and I grieved, he seemed strangely detached, his sorrow muted. At the funeral, he'd squeezed my shoulder and said, "She's at peace now."
A real man cries at his wife's funeral. This one booked a spa day.
Vegas, Miami, Europe, grieving wasn't on the itinerary.
Yeah, but hashtags were dead wife. Who?
Disgusting, but accurate. A month after the funeral, Ethan went on extravagant trips to Las Vegas, Miami, and even Europe. He stayed in luxury hotels and flaunted his travels on social media, seemingly erasing any memory of Serena. My suspicions grew. I couldn't reconcile his behavior with the grief of a man who had lost his wife and child. Driven by a need for answers, I began my own investigation, starting with Serena's finances. I hired a forensic accountant, a grizzled ex-auditor named Marjorie who'd seen every trick in the book. We discovered a troubling pattern. Serena, always careful with money and abhorring debt, had suddenly accumulated a large amount of it across several banks. The transaction seemed completely out of character. The bank records revealed more than forged signatures. Ethan had scheduled loan appointments during Serena's obstetrician visits, ensuring she'd never see the alerts.
She's gone, and now her bank accounts are too? Real classy, Ethan.
He forged loans, backdated paperwork, all while she was at doctor visits.
That's not a husband. That's a damn malware in human form.
And Serena never saw the virus coming. He'd call the banks right after her ultrasounds, Marjorie said, cross-referencing timestamps. He knew she'd be distracted. A teller at First National recalled a charming, insistent man who'd waved off requests for spousal consent, claiming Serena was too pregnant to come in. He'd even presented a notarized power of attorney, later proven fake, its seal stolen from a document in their home office. We found the original notary stamp in Serena's desk, the detective told me, under a stack of gallery invoices he thought you'd never check. My investigation led me to the banks. Bank employees revealed that Ethan had initiated the loans, signing the documents using Serena's name in the months leading up to her death. My unease deepened. I then looked into Serena's life insurance policy. I learned that Ethan had increased her coverage, naming himself as the sole beneficiary, shortly before the Sedona trip. He doubled it 3 weeks before the hike, the adjuster admitted, backdated the paperwork to make it look routine. The life insurance adjuster admitted fault. Ethan had faxed the amended policy from Serena's gallery letterhead, her signature pixel perfect, but the agent hadn't called to confirm, company policy for low-risk existing clients. When I showed him Serena's real signature, shaky from morning sickness on her last loan application, he paled. "The system flagged it," he mumbled, but Ethan said she had carpal tunnel from painting. We believed him. The substantial payout explained his sudden wealth and extravagant lifestyle. The pieces fell into place. I realized that Ethan's grief was a facade, a carefully constructed act to conceal a sinister plot. I believed he had manipulated Serena, burdened her with debt, and then murdered her for the insurance money. Armed with this evidence, I went to the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office in Arizona. I presented my findings, outlining my suspicions, and providing the financial records and insurance documents. Initially skeptical, the detectives were swayed by the evidence and my testimony. After that, the authorities reopened the investigation. They interviewed hikers from Echo Canyon, corroborating my timeline, and examined crime scene photos for inconsistencies. The detectives focused on Ethan's account, noting discrepancies and contradictions. He claimed Serena slipped while taking a selfie, but his description of the fall and his actions seemed implausible. The investigation uncovered a crucial witness who recalled seeing Ethan and Serena at the canyon rim. The witness testified that Ethan had seemed unusually insistent on taking photos, guiding Serena to a precarious spot near the edge, and that they had lingered there, away from other tourists. This testimony, combined with the financial evidence, painted a damning picture. The prosecutor saved the most damning evidence for last: Ethan's Google search history. 2 days before the trip, he'd looked up Sedona Canyon deaths accident stats and spousal debt liability after death. The jury recoiled as the screen flashed a final search at 3 a.m. How long before missing person declared dead? A paralegal later told me they'd found deleted searches, too. Best cliff push points? And does life insurance cover suicide?
Best cliff push points! Dude didn't even try to hide it.
He typed his confession into a search bar.
That man's browser history needs an exorcism.
And it burned him in court. The authorities concluded that Ethan had deliberately led Serena to a secluded spot, positioned her near the edge, and pushed her to her death. In 2021, Ethan Caldwell was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. The trial was a media sensation, captivating the nation. The prosecution presented a compelling case, weaving together the financial motives, witness testimony, and inconsistencies in Ethan's statements. The defense argued that Serena's death was a tragic accident, portraying Ethan as a grieving husband, unfairly accused. They hired a charismatic psychologist who claimed Ethan's detachment was dissociative amnesia, a trauma response. But under cross-examination, he faltered. I never said he couldn't have done it, just that it's possible to forget. But the jury found Ethan Caldwell guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole.
So he's locked up forever? Good. Let him hike around a prison yard now.
Life without parole. One trip he won't return from.
Justice is blind, but she finally peaked on this one.
And Serena's story finally got the ending she deserved. The verdict brought justice for Serena and her unborn child. I, though still grieving, found some solace in knowing her killer was brought to justice. The case served as a chilling reminder that evil can lurk beneath even seemingly perfect relationships, and that the pursuit of truth can uncover the darkest of secrets. At Ethan's sentencing, the judge said it best. This wasn't a crime of passion. It was a spreadsheet murder, cold, calculated, and meticulously planned.